Folks, thanks for checking back in. We're in the sugar house down in the sugar bush. We're going to be out there terminating lateral lines into the main lines today using a drill, a hand-operated drill that clamps onto the main line. You'll get to see that. I give a good overview of that toward the end of the video, so make sure and stick around. You'll get to see that. They're called saddles, and again I'll show those in greater detail throughout the video. So I'm just getting geared up here with my pouch, saddles, and the other tools it takes to get this done. We're into the first saddle here, right out front of the sugar house. These are tricky because this main line runs parallel to the conductor system. So I got the dry line right above me, but we'll work with it here. So I've just used that tool, drilled a hole in the main line, and then these saddles are composed of three parts. You have the pipe clamp, which has a hole in it, and then you have the elbow and the rubber gasket that makes the seal when you tighten the clamp down. So that these clamps go on the line easier, I take my pliers and kick the end of that clamp around, and that makes it a lot easier to start. Here you see the gasket installed on the elbow, and then that just pushes right through that hole in the clamp like that. Point that screw toward you, and then you're able to swivel that elbow either toward you or away from you, depending on which way that lateral is coming in. In this case, the lateral is under my arm there, pointed toward us, and so then I point that elbow toward me as well. Folks, if what you have is a two-hand tool, use it. This is not the job for the two-hand tool, but it's what I had with me at the time. I have a one-hand tool that I use later on in the video. So definitely, if you have the option, use a one-hand tool for this. This main line is run parallel to the wet conductor, which makes a challenge. They're both tied together quite well with wire ties, so you can cut a couple of those wire ties out just so you have room to get that tool down in between there. As you're checking out the footage, I'll give a little update on the past few days here. We've got a warm-up on the way, so I've put preparation into high gear. Got the RO put together and washed. I got the main lines put together, and I took some footage on that, so that'll be coming your way shortly. And we're going to get the evaporator set up and the RO in the shed. We're going to hook up and run the guzzler as well. It's supposed to be 40 couple degrees. Today, Friday, it got up just enough to thaw out the lines, but there's so much snowpack and it was 5 below the night before, so we really didn't get a run today, even though it was mid-30s. And then midweek next week looks like it's really going to begin. So stay tuned. I will keep you as posted as I can. It's going to be very busy coming up. So I'll just keep you posted on how the season is going here in central Vermont. Grab your loop here, bring it up, see where you want to terminate it first. Mark that with one hand while you grab the tool with the other hand. Previous years we have used a drill for this, but you really risk going through the far side of your main line, and it's really not worth it. So if you can find a used one of these, they're usually about $50 used. I think they're 110 new, so it's just something that you have to justify in your own mind whether or not you want to do that. This main line has not been wire tied. You can see the main line is loose from the wire. If you're able to terminate these before you fully wire tie, it does make terminating easier, and then you can go back through and wire tie everything. I do have wire ties every 6 feet or so tied loosely from when I installed it, and then it's just nice to put these in and then come through and wire tie. Folks, if you notice over to the right of your screen, we got these lines coming in. They're hooked on the wire with a union with a hook on it. So there was a point in time where I brought these straight down and terminated the lateral right onto the saddle, and you may wonder why we don't do that, and there's a couple reasons for that. One reason is it puts unnecessary strain on that saddle and can cause it to leak. Another reason is these loops are actually very helpful for finding vacuum leaks, and I will show you more on that when the sap is flowing, because it's just very easy to show you what I mean by that. So those are the main things. It just gives you also some more flexibility to work with there as well. If you have it, it's definitely a valuable time saver to bring along a small impact. Open up these clamps, tighten them down. Saves a lot of hand work, a lot of time, especially since we're down to the time crunch now. You just gotta be as efficient and quick on all this as possible. Here you go. Here's the one hand tool. It's so much smaller, so much easier to work. on the main line. It's got this cutter too, so you got to carry around an extra tube and cutter. The two-hand does have a cutter, but that's when you're midline and you can split the line. It does not work for just cutting off a small piece of tubing. So definitely the one-hand tool is the way to go. It weighs less than half as much, and it's just way easier to maneuver. Right now, I've shifted to a situation here where we've got old saddles. They point the wrong way. I was going to see if I could turn them around, but I was not able to get they're a zip tie style, basically, and so I'll show one in greater detail in a couple minutes here. And so I just opted to install a brand new saddle. I was able to use the same hole. They're roughly the same size, and it seemed to work out just fine that way. Got a little ice in the end of this line, sap ice. It had run several days ago and we tapped last week, and there's not a lot you can do about that sap in there, that ice. If you're not able to terminate one and you find that you're having to force it on, you can just come back if it suits and throw it on later. It takes 2 seconds. Carry around a couple 2 or 3 foot whips with you. There's spots here where I didn't put that whip on the other side, and fortunately I had a couple whips along with me, so I was able to throw those on there. You see here too, I'm reusing a saddle that was pointed the correct way. Here's an old saddle I gotta pop off, so I took a screwdriver and just popped the opposite side. Popped the 2 pins out that were holding that zip tie. This is the rubber insert that you drill your hole, pop that down inside, and then clamp this over the top, and then use water pump pliers or any pliers that work to squeeze those tabs down. And it's basically a couple heavy duty zip ties there that keep it cinched down on the line. Those rubber gaskets on those protrude into the line just a little bit, so if your line is full of ice, you're gonna, it's gonna run up against those and stop up your line, whereas the ones I'm using here from Leader are flush with the inside of the line and generally allow ice to pass by. Here you go, folks. Here's that tool up a little closer. This tool specifically has a auto adjust vice grip, and you hand operate this very sharp drill bit. There's no way you're going to punch through the far side of that line. Very good tool to have if you're doing very many saddles. It's also very important to make sure that you're properly seated in that hole. If you're off a little bit, it can create a vacuum leak, or it can cause your sap coming down the lateral to not even flow into the main line. So it's good to double check that before you tighten it down. Folks, we got a beautiful evening here. Thank you for sticking around with me as I terminated the laterals into the main lines. We've got 4 of our main lines done, or almost done, and we've got 1.5 more to go. So we're gonna get that buttoned up tomorrow. I've put everything back in the sugar house for now, my tools and everything. We're headed up, but we got that almost done. Our next step is going to be tying the main lines together. This Saturday we have a bit of a run, so I'm going to test everything out. I'll keep you posted on that. But we're not going to be keeping any sap until it looks like around March 10th as a bit of a season update for you there. So, you know, everything's tight and cold. I've got snowshoes because the snow's just deep. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed. If you haven't, that is a way that you can support me, the work I do, and the channel here. So please consider subscribing if you haven't. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.